Okay. So just let me repeat what I have done before. So if you have variables, you need to declare your variables. And when you declare variables, if you want to use it, you need to assign the variables. So declare first and then assign. If you don't want to use it, then it's okay if you don't assign it. For example, if your variable is depend on other variable, then it is okay if you didn't assign. Let's see, like an example, like here, integer m, because m is dependent on b and a. So that's why I didn't declare the value. It depends on the value of a and b and the initial value of a and b. So that's why you don't have to declare it. Or you can also declare, just say integer m equals to 0 or any value, then it is okay, because it will be updated according to your arithmetic operator. Okay, now let's look at this one. What do you expect the output of z divided z equals to x over y, and x and y are integers and z is a float? What's the output? X divided by y. Sembilan bagi 3. Tak ada jawapan.
1.3.
1.3.
1.3. 3.
Yeah. 3.0000. That will be 6 zeros, because it's float unless you specify, but 3.0 something. So 9 by 3 is exactly 3. So there's no argument about that. Now, if I change y becomes 4, what's the value of z? 9 and 4, those are integers, but z is a float.
$2.25.
Any other answer? Yang lain?
Sim.
0.
2.00.
Apa dia? 2.00, 2.0 something. Yes, 2.0 something. Why? Because remember, I told you last time, x and y, these two variables are integers. So they will be evaluated according to the understanding of integers. What does integer understand? It doesn't recognize the decimal numbers. Okay, so if I do something like this, 9 divided by 4, actually this one will be 2.25, like Nela said just now. But these numbers, this is in terms of x and y, it doesn't yet change to float yet. So this one, these two are integers, 9 and 4 are integers. So this decimal number 0.25 will not be recognized because these two are integers, so this is with just 2. But this is for float. Z is a float, so that's why it says float z, which is equal to 2.000. So the answer is 2.00000. Basically just 2. So because it takes from the integer value, integer understanding. But what if you want to you want to change, because this is a float, then you need to do the calculation according to the float understanding. So if you go back to the previous screen, you can do something like this. So what you can do is you say float z equals to, so this operator float, oh, yeah, this looks like a parenthesis. Float apa dia? X over y. And now you change this value in terms of float. So it will be displayed as 2.25000. Okay, is it clear? Jelas ke?
Clear.
Yeah, okay. So just understand anything, if it's integer, then the rest of the decimal points will not be evaluated. Okay, now let's look at this is one more important thing in C programming or in any kind of programming. Because why? Because in programming you always do iteration. What does it mean by iteration? Iteration is you start from, let's say, you can start from 0 or you can start from 1, and then you increase your steps and until you met some condition. So in programming you always do that. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, increment and decrement operator. Okay. So I think many of you have seen this, but it's okay. Just some, this will be your some refreshment. X plus plus or plus plus X. X plus plus is called, this is called post decrement. Post, what does it mean by post? Because you add after that, and this is called the pre increment. The same thing for the minus minus and minus y minus 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 y. Okay, so if you have like this, just x plus plus, it means that it is increased by value of 1. If it's minus minus, double minus, it is decreased by value of minus 1. Okay, now let's look at this one, the equivalence of this operator. What does it mean by this one? So you can see that x equals to a times b plus plus. So b plus plus in this case is the post increment. Post increments mean what? It will be evaluated after that. After that, what does it mean by that? The previous operator. Okay, now let's look at this one. This is equivalent to what? So firstly, you need to multiply first. Multiply operator first, and then after that, you increase b by 1. So number 1 is, the first line is multiplication, and then after that you add by 1. Now let's look at this one, the expression for this one. We have x equals to a times minus minus b. So you pre minus b. So you minus first, and then after that you multiply. So this is equivalent to what? So your first operator is you decrease by minus 1, and then after that x equals to a times b. Okay, so it means that you minus first the value first and then do the operator. In the post increment case, post increment or post anything that is post, after that, meaning that you do the operator first and then after that you increase or decrease equivalently. Now, what if we increase by not equals to 1? The increment is not equals to 1. It can be 0.5, it can be 0.01, and so on. So it doesn't has to be an integer. Okay, the example is for integers, but it doesn't has to be in terms of integers. Okay, now let's look at this one. Let's say I have integer x equals to 15. And I said x plus equals to 10. What does it mean by x plus equals to 10? It means that x is increased by 10. The next x will be 10 plus 15, which is 25. Now let's look at this one, x minus equals to 10. So it means decrease by minus 10. So 15, the new x will be 15 minus 10, which is 5. It's written right here. Same thing if you want to increase by a multiplication. Let's say a geometric series. So geometric series, you multiply for if from previous terms. So x times equals to 10. So it means that x times 10 increased by multiply by a factor of 10. And it will be, the next value will be 15 times 10 will be 150. And so on. If you do the looping, it will increase by multiplication of 10. You can also do some division, and you can also do the modulus operator. Okay, same thing if you want to increase by decimal value. Let's say I have float, let's say like this, float x equals to 0. So declare, this is my declaration. And this is my assignment. I assign value. Okay, and then I say x plus equals to 0.01. So means that I increase by 0.01. This is usually happen when, for example, if you remember, you do your calculus when you want to try to find the Riemann sum. Okay, the Riemann sum, the width of that. So Riemann sum, the width is very small number, close to 0. So you can do the multiplication iteration for the number of rectangles until infinity, and that will be your integral. So it doesn't matter, it can be an integer, it can also be a float, the increment or the decrement, the same thing. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay,
No, Doctor.
If you're correct. All right, now let's see the difference between the post and the pre. Post increment and then pre-increment. Okay, now if you look at this, integer count, so declare the data type for this value, for this variable count, and also the index. They both are integers. Index equals to 6, and then count equals to index plus plus. Okay, but you can see that why the value for count is 6 and the value of index is 7. So let's say if you put the printf and so on, the value is going to be different. Okay, now let's try to break out into what does it mean by this one, by this expression. Okay, so first of all, the value of index, let's use I because I prefer to be simple. So I equals to 6. That is the initial value. And then count equals to index plus plus. So remember, what does it mean by index plus plus? After that, it means that it will add it after the operation. So it means something like this: C equals to I, and then I plus I equals to I plus 1. Need to differentiate I and 1. Something like that. So that's why you can see that I equals to 6 and then C equals to I. So C is going to take the previous value of I. Okay, so that's why we get 6. And then I equals to I plus 1. Previous value of I is this one. There's no other I updated. So that will be 6 plus 1. So that's why it becomes 7. Now let's look at this one, the pre-increment. So you increase and then after that you assign. Okay, now let's try to break this into its equivalent operation. Okay, so I equals to 6. I equals to 6. This line. And then we have count equals to plus plus index. So plus plus index, this is before. So means that I need to put index equals to index plus 1. And then after that, I say C equals to index. Count equals to index. So you can see that this one, I equals to 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. And then C equals to I, which I with the latest value of I, which is 7. So that's why we get count equals to 7. Index also equals to 7. Yes, Haswaniza, do you have any question? Okay. Is it clear? So you need to break this increment and post decrement into 2 lines if you want to understand the operation. So the difference between, and usually you are going to see the difference in this pre and post increment in terms of the looping process. I think looping in chapter 4, yeah, chapter 4, the do while and the while loops. In some cases, it will be the same. In some cases, it won't. Okay, now let's look at the post decrement. So you decrease by some value. All right, now the same thing right here. If you break this statement or expression into its equivalent expression, yang mana yang sewaktu dengannya lah, so maksudnya, what does it mean by that? So I equals to 6, and then C equals to I equals to I minus 1. So that is why we have C is count still 6, because this is the value of previous I, the latest I, and then I is 6 minus 1, that's why you get 5. Same thing, if you do the same thing, do the operator, break this out. So I equals to 6, I equals to I minus 1, and then C equals to I. So that is why you get 5 and 5. Just take the meaning and then try to break out. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, no question. Then we can go to this one. Okay, now let's try to guess the output. What do you think the output is? The value of x after prefixing is x plus plus x, and then after the prefixing x plus plus.
11.
So the first line is 11, you said, and the second line?
Also 11.
Yes, also 11. So now you understand why. Any other question? Is there any question? Why is it 11? Both are 11?
No question.
Okay, no question. I hope you understand why both are 11. Now, if I change, let's say change this one into x plus plus, and then this one into plus plus x. Now, what's the output? Which one? Which one?
Both.
Both. Are you sure?
Plus x.
Any other answer? Ada jawapan lain tak?
10, 11.
10 and 11. All right, now let's see. Let's try to evaluate. Okay, it says right here, the value of x after, let's say, this is post. So just understand this is just post, and this is pre. We just change the order. Okay, now, what does it mean by post? It means that it will be added after that. Okay, so after what? After the printf. So if I expand this thing, it will be something like this. So it will be printf, and then so x plus plus. So that will be after that. So x equals to x plus 1. So that is the meaning of post increment. So it will be on the next line. And let's look at this one. Printf, the value of x after prefixing, it will be plus x. So plus x means it will be added before the operation. So x equals to x plus 1, and then it will be printf x. So if I expand this this statement, it will be something like this. So now, what do you think the output is? After this expansion, you expand this definition. Now, printf x was the value of x right here. 10. So this one is 10. Okay. So the first output is going to be 10 because that is the initial value of x. Now, after 10, then it will be increased by 1, which is 11. And then after that, it will be increased by another 1, which is 12. Now, the latest value of x is
12.
12, yes.
12.
So, yeah, so the latest value of x is 12. So the output will be 10 and 12. So that is the difference between if you do before and after. So if you understand, this is what after we just adjust. Let's try to expand this, because expand this, what happened if, so this is when we, now let's look at, because I want you to understand still this one also. So this one, your friend said before the value is 11, and then the next output is also 11. Why? Because if you expand this into what is supposed to be, so it will be something like this, printf something, and then x. What is x? X is added 1 before that. X equals to x plus 1. This is prefix, pre-increment. So you increase first, and then you do the statement of printf. So that's why the value is 11. I'm sorry, excuse me, 10 but plus 1 is 11. So the latest previous value, the latest value. And then after that, printf. So that is the post meaning the operation is after that. So the next will be printf x, and then it will be post increment, so it will be x plus 1. So that's why the output is still 11. So 11 and 11, because this is a post. After that, you do the operation, and then after that, add by 1. This is in contrast that we did when we say that this is x plus plus and then plus plus x. So now, boleh dapat ke? Faham ke? Can you get the case of it?
Faham.
Okay. Now, let's look at this one, relation operators. The difference between the arithmetic operators, plus, minus, division, multiplication, is what? Relation operators, the value of it will be either true or false. True, the value is 1, false is 0. So true is 1, false is 0. And sometimes C understand as long as the value is non-zero, then it is true. Any value other than 0 is always true. This is called the Boolean operators when we have true, and this is logic. If you want to go to something like AI, artificial intelligence, it studies about the fuzzy logic. What does it mean by the logic and the fuzzy logic? For example, if you understand the meaning of never and always. Never is not, never tak pernah, meaning that it almost zero, not almost zero, zero. You didn't do anything. You never read, so meaning you never read. The value of reading is 0. And let's say you always read, so the value is 1 because you do that always. But what's the value of sometimes? What does it mean by sometimes? Is it 50-50? Is it 80 or 20%? Usually, what does it mean by usually? So that is related to the fuzzy logic. The value is not 0 or 1. It can be any other value between 0 and 1. So that's just some insight of AI. So that's why you get that one. All right, now, what does it mean by relation operator? So we have, this is easy to understand. The different, but usually students are confused about this one. This and also double equal value and also the single equal operator, equal symbol. So in this operator, in this relation operator, equal, double, the double equal sign means that it is equal. Let's see an example. 4 is equals to 2. So this means equal. If you have the double sign, 4 is equals to 2. Does it equals to 2? No, 4 doesn't equal to 2. It's not even equal to 2. So that's why the value is 0. It's false. And this operator means, let me write this one, this is equal. And this is not equal. X not equals to Y. Okay, 4 is not equals to 2. So if I say 4 is not equals to 2, then it is true. The value is going to be 1. And the rest, I think you can understand, it does not make any difference with what you have understand before. Let's see some example. 3 is bigger than 2. Yes, of course. 4 is not equals to 7. Yes, that's why the value is 1. And 5 plus 5 is 10. 2 times 5 is also 10. So 10 is equals to 10. So that's why the value is 1. Okay, now let's see this example. And let's look at the format of this one. So if you look at this one, declaration, so declare, how it is declared just once. So you declare A, B, C are all integers. So just do it in one line and then declare the initial value, assign the initial value. So 6, 7, and 8. Okay, now let's look at the how it is printed. The value of A bigger than B is this one, T. So /T is for if you look at your keyboard, it is the same thing as you put you press the tab key. So this is like a tab. So that's why you can see that this is the space in between the value at the is right here and also the value of 0. Okay, same thing, you can see that this is tab and tab, and the output is in one line. Okay, now let's look at this one. A is bigger than B. A is bigger than B. 6 is bigger than 7. That is false. B is less than C. Yes. 7 is less than 8. That's not a problem. Okay, now look at this one. A plus B is bigger than C. So which one is evaluated first? Is it the multiplication or the relation operator? Okay, so in this relation operator and arithmetic, you do the arithmetic first, add first. So for this example, let's say A plus B is 6 plus 7, that is 13. 13 is bigger than 8. So that's why the value is true. But if you do something like this, if you say something like this, okay, let's try to change this one. Let's change A plus B is bigger than C. Then it will be different, because you evaluate this one first, number one, and then you add the second step. However, if it doesn't say, it doesn't specify the parentheses, so you do the arithmetic operation first, and then you do the relation operator last. Okay, same thing for this one. You can see that A minus B, 6 minus 7, minus 1, and then B minus C, 7. Okay, so that's why the value is true, and so on. So the moral of the story is, you do the operator, you do the adding, multiplication, or anything first, and then lastly, you do the relation operator. What is the relationship between left and right? Is it true or false? So that is the meaning of that. Okay, now this one, logic operator. So logic operator is also the same thing. What does it mean by the same thing? It means it is it true or false? So this, I think you learned this in algebra. Let me ask you, if it's true and true, the output will be true. Okay, so you understand that. True or false? True. False and false.
False.
False. Okay, so you understand. Okay, I think it's not a problem, because you know the logic operator right here. This is usually used in security. This is used in security. If you want to do some programming for security purposes, security device, you can use this logic operators, true or false. How about exclusive OR? Exclusive OR, is it? So in this, in C programming, in our case, we don't have exclusive OR, the XOR. So far, yeah, we don't have that one. Okay, now let's look at this one. 4 equals to 4. 4 equals to 4. Yes, this is true. 5 is not equals to 3. Yes, this is true. So true and true. So that's why the value is 1. The value is true. Let's look at this one. 4 is bigger than 1. So that is true. 5 is less than 2. That is false. True or false, it's true. So if you remember that one. So 3 is equals to 2. False. 4 equals to 4. Yes. But yes and no, it will be no. 5, it's equals to 3, that is false. So not false is true. So usually people are confused about this one. So not false. So it's false, but not false is of course true. Okay, so the moral of the story right here is what? If you have two relation operators, one is relation operators and the other is the logic operators, what you need to do is you do the relation operator first and then do the logic operator. So the sequence is like this. You do the arithmetic, you do the plus, minus, multiplication, and then you go for the relation. Is it bigger or less? Is it equal? Is it not equal? And then finally, you do the logic operators, and or not. Okay, now let's look at this one. Try to evaluate this one. X is less than 2. X is, where's my question? X equals to 2. This is X less or equals there. Yes, it is less. And it's also equal. So that is true. Y equals to 4. Y is what? Y is 5. So that is false. So that's why the value is 0. X is, this one is no problem. This is also false. Yeah. True and false, it's true. So I think it is easy now to understand. Okay, now let's look at this one. This is combination of and or. X is bigger or equals to 2. It is equal, but not bigger. Yeah, one of them is true. So this is true. I didn't highlight. Okay, y is equals to 4. Y is equals to 4. This is false. Z is less than 15. 15 is less than 15. That is false. So which one to evaluate first? So we have and we have or. Which one is evaluated first? N or O?
N.
Yes. First, you evaluate this one, N, and finally, you evaluate O. O is always evaluated last. Last kali kita buat O. So in this case, X, this is false, true and false. So this is false. False and false or false, then it will be false. Okay, any question? Any question on this one?
No, doctor.
Okay. So you need to just do some practice. Did I put the exercise? Okay, no, it's not a problem. Exercise, we'll do some exercise during the lab on next week. Okay, now let's go. So what we have done, number one, we did the arithmetic operator, and then we do the relation operator, true or false, and finally we do the logic operator, also true or false. Now let's look at the mathematics library. So if you want to use the library function, the mathematic operation function, you need to use this one. Always put #include math.h. Otherwise, it will not recognize your function. What are those functions? Those functions, example is like this. Let's say ABSX and the fabs, apps and the fabs. Okay, the difference is what? The difference, this is for integer. So ABS is for absolute value for integer. Fabs, the floating absolute value. So it is used for the float or double data types. So you can use according to your data type if you want to use this one. So this is the equivalence of what? This one, A minus X, absolute values. Cosine, sine, and tangent, exponential. This is what? This is the natural log. Okay, so this is the equivalent to, so this is equivalent to e to the x. Okay, so exponential. You don't put like this. You don't put e like that. No, this is wrong. You don't do that. Because in C we don't have that. We don't have that kind of operator. If you want to use the exponential, e to the x, so this is the equivalent expression. Log x. So log x, this is the same thing as this one. Natural log. Okay, you don't have to, you cannot use the ln x in this math library in C programming. If you want to use the natural log, you just say log x. You don't say ln x. But if you want to use the log base 10, so you use something like this. So this is equivalent to log base 10 of x. Okay, how about this one? Power x, comma y. Dia bukan nak power orang ni. Dia apa dia? This is just abbreviation for power. Power x, y. So let's say this is the same thing, equivalent to x to the power of y. Let's say I have x to the power of 5. What can I do in my C programming is power x to the power of 5. So you raise that power to the 5. Y must be a whole number. It doesn't have to be. Also that is if x is negative. So just be careful. If x is negative, it should be a whole number. Otherwise, it will be a false. It will be an error. Otherwise, it can be any number if x is not negative. Let's say the relationship between this one is square root of x. So SQRT is the same thing as QRT, that is square root of x. This is the same thing as that. And square root of x, this is the same thing also when you say x to the power of 1 over 2. So in that case, I can also use, let's say x to the power of, I can also use the square root in terms of power. What does it mean by that? I can say power x 1/2. Because the power for square root is half. So I can just half that. I can also do something like this, power x 0.5. It is the same thing. Because 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, as long as this should be in float data type. So just be careful in how you declare your variables. Otherwise, you can say that why my value is not showing up. But in reality, you forgot to declare your variable properly. Okay, ceiling and floor. Ceiling and floor. This is from your calculus. You can understand that. What does it mean by that? So that is the function of ceiling function and the floor function. The greatest integer value, the least integer value. And there are also other functions. It is which usually we didn't use, but this is just the list of usable function. Okay, now let's see some exercise. Square root of 2a plus b times c cubed. Now I think we can do some. Let me do one example, and then we can see how you understand this. Okay, now I'm going to do one example, and then we can share how everybody can do it. Okay, square root of 2a plus b times c. So square root of 2a times b, this we need to do first, square root first. Okay, so we can say 2 times a plus b, and these variable are in square root as QRT, and then times c. C is to the power of 3, so you can use power C3. Okay, so that is one example. You can also do something like this. I don't want to use power. I can also use SQRT 2 times A plus, I'm going to give you options, times C, times C, times C. Because C to the power of 3 is 3 times of C. You can also do something like this as well. This is power of 2 times A plus B, 1 over 2 times C, times C, times C. So you can have so many options and on how to do this. So it depends on how you see this thing. But make sure that the way that you write this is correct. Okay, now let's do your part. Let me do something like this. Can we? Okay. Jamboard. Hold on. How to share? Okay. Okay, now I'm going to share the Jamboard. Then you can write. Where's my money check? Okay. Can you just click on the Jamboard, and then I'm going to give you this example. Okay. Okay, let me see. The second question is. Okay. The second question is this. M minus 4n to the power of 3 and then q. Square root. Okay, now, can anybody try to write this in C programming?
Doctor, we cannot write.
Tak boleh. Dah boleh ke? Can you edit?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Nak lari sana. You can add something like this as well. Yeah. Tak guna ni, awak pergi dekat ni pun boleh. Yang dekat teks ada T tu, boleh tulis kat situ pun boleh. Square root. Okey, besar sangat tu. Tak apa. Okey, square root power m minus 4 times n 3. Okay, now we get the answer. Saya dah ada jawapan kat sini. Okay, now if you look at this one, we need to, this is a square root, this is a square root, and then the inner square root is a power. So it should be power of 3. Okay, so this is okay. Semua is okay. Jangan terpadam yang orang lain pula. Okay, let's see this one. It's also the same thing. Square root of power and minus 4 times n. So that's okay. Please be careful also with the parentheses. So the parentheses should be matched, open and then close, open and then close. So that is okay. That is okay. Now, okay. Now let's try to do the second examples. Log. This is number 1. Log of e x squared. This is number 2. This is log of e is the natural log. Awak boleh guna yang tab ni, tak perlu tulis dengan apa ni, tak perlu tulis dengan mouse. Bagi yang sebelah kiri ni, if you go to the list one, you can see there's a tab and then we can just drag right here. Okay, log power, also we have the answer right here. Please also be careful with the parentheses power x squared. Okay, that is okay. Yes, direct. So x squared. So power. Okay. I also want to see something like this because this is x squared. Remember that I have told you before, I always like something that is simple. Okay. Now x squared is the difference between x squared and then x10 is how many times it will be multiplied. Okay, x squared is just x times x. So what I'm going to do about this, if I do it, I'm going to be writing something like this: log of x times x. Yes, that's it. Because you can see that the difference is you have you need to put this in terms of the function, but this is much easier. Okay, terima kasih. Apa? Unta tolong tulis balik itu expression. All right, so x times x. So this is much more simple. It's not wrong, but it's the way you write your expression. It's not wrong. That it doesn't wrong at all. But shows simplicity. Now, do we want? Oh, okay. We can stop right now because it's 11. We can stop for 5 minutes or 10. Yes, take 10 minutes. Okay, how about this one, the last one? Okay, I want to write this. Let's say x1. I'm going just to do the x1. X1 equals to minus b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now, how to write this using C function? So you can do this way, or you can do this way, either one. And you can also do this way. This is also okay. It's not a problem, but the way you express your expression, is it going to be a simple, or is it going to be have a lot of things lumping into one equation? So it's up to you which one to choose. Okay, any questions so far?
No question, Doctor.
All right, now let's look at the next topic, which is the data input and output. Okay, the input format and the output format. Okay, listed here, you can see in the table, we have 4 types of input and output. Get char, you can also have get C. It is also, if you already know about some C programming, and some of them is included something like this, get C or put C. Okay, and then this is equal to the standard in and so on. Okay, so get char is what? Is you take this from the standard input. This is for especially for character. This is for these two are for the character data type. Okay, so this is like an input, and this is the output. This is input from the, this is input, and this is the output. Same thing, if you use this one, Scanf or Printf, these two are more wide. This you can use any data type, meaning that you can use character. You can also use the float, double, and also the integer. So this is more wider usage compared to the get char and put char, get C, put C. Okay, I think most of you have seen what we have done before. We usually use the printf. So this is the standard C function for printing the output. So this is the output into the black console, and this is your input from your keyboard, or input from keyboard or from your file. Same thing. This is more general. I think I have also explained some of these specifiers. We have number 1, what we did before is the specifier for D, that is for integer. If you look at the previous one, let me see. Okay, like here, we have this one, specifier D for integers. Why? Because the data type for all of this value, for all of these variables are integers. And if it's a float or double, you can use both. It doesn't matter if it's a double or if it's a float, you can use either E or F. It's not a problem. Unless you put D for a float data type, then it will recognize as integer. So it will not recognize the float data type. And string and character. So the difference between this is char and the S right here, these two. Okay, what are the difference? This is for single char, and this is array. What does it mean by that? What are the difference? Example, I say this is like this, sa S just S. This is the single, like this, single character. And if I have like this, saya ada, and this is called the string. So that is the difference. Pointer is the pointer and address. We're going to use this in, I think, in chapter 6 or 7. Okay, next time. Okay, Safagani, do you want to say something? Any question or something like that? Okay, now let's look at some example. Printf, everything in Printf, so the specifier or your sentence, your some direction or instruction, you need to put into this semicolon. Not semicolon, what do you call this? Double quotation. My bad. Double quotation. So this is my first output, which is 25. C. So C, this is for single character, single char, which is the next output, M. And then lastly, this is the float. You can recognize that as float. And you can see that the whole thing is quite tight. So if you want to see some spaces, you need to put the space in between. Now you can see the same space in between the output. Same thing. So this is a space. This is a space because why? Because according to your formatting output. So the first goes to the first entry, goes to the first entry in the outside the quotation marks, and so on. So if you please be careful, sometimes, for example, you might have something like this. I'm saying printf D, and then C, and then F, you have 25, and M, and just like that. So you're specifying 1, 2, 3 output, but what you entered is just 1 and 2. So it's not matched. So that is going to be an error. So if you have 1, 2, 3, you need to also have 1, 2, 3 variables. Okay, any question so far? So I think we can, okay. I think if we start the lab, then we can understand more. Okay, now let's see an example. This is easy. Character, how you define or how you declare your character, single character. Char x equals to into single, just a single quotation. What happened? You put something like this. No, X, okay. What happened? You put into double quotation. Usually, sometimes it's it's not like a fatal problem, fatal error. It's not a fatal error, meaning that you can still evaluate, but it's going to recognize as a string. And if you put, you need to put like, usually you put the array next time, because we are not dealing with string yet. We are dealing with character, single character. Now, what if I make a mistake? I make a mistake. I say the character is right here, D. I put the specifier for integer instead of character. Okay, now if you understand the C programming, every character, every symbols in the keyboard, it has some value. And the name of that is given by this guy, this association, ASCII values. So what happened is it will display the ASCII values. It will display the value of that character. It will not display that character, but the value of it, maybe 100 something. I forgot the value. Okay, so that's good. What happened if you put the F? It's going to display some what does it mean? A floating number. Yes, with 40 numbers. Okay, so and also what happened? Just some question. Okay, so let's say I didn't specify my. Okay, let's say I said something like this. I forgot to declare. Let's see, integer x, and I say print f. My specifier is correct. It's integer, and then n. I say to display x, but I forgot to initialize the value. I forgot to initialize the value. Okay, so because you have already done the first part, which is declaring, so it will recognize that value as integer, but you forgot the only error that you did is you forgot to initialize the value. So what's going to happen is that it's going to take any value of x that is stored in C. So it can take any values. It can be some weird values. Sometimes it doesn't stay the same, it can change because you didn't specify. So please be careful. When you declare, usually you need to initialize or you need to assign the value. And this is just some escape sequence, something like this. Let's say an example right here, we have /n. This is a float. And then /n, it means that you enter, there's a space twice. It's like entering it twice. Press enter twice. And I think I have told you about this one. This one is okay. So this is new line. Tab, this is like the tab on your keyboard. This is going to bring and so on. You can try. And also this one that is going to give you a sound, alert sound, and so on. And I think this is some error. Please make sure that it will not display. It should be something like this. So it will display this percent character. This is not a backslash. Everything is okay. So you can try and see the difference. Usually, what we did, this is usually used in array. This is in array for character. This is automatic. You don't have to worry about that. And this is what we use. That's why I just highlight this one, and this one if you like. This one maybe, yeah. So that the rest we rarely use. You can, but rarely use. Okay, now just now we saw. Let me repeat what we did today. Number one, on the previous number one, what we did today is the relation operator, bigger or equals, is it equals, not equals, and then we go to the logic operator, and or not, the difference between that. And we also did how to express the mathematical expression into C function. Okay, and then the printed output is the printf, how to see the output. And now the input, the formatted input, meaning that you need to key in from your, either from your keyboard or from your file. But for the first, this one on our, we are going to use that later on, using Scanf from keyboard. This is from keyboard. So you don't have to worry about the file management yet. Okay, so you take the values from keyboard, meaning that, let's say something like this, integer, you declare your variable. Usually what you did is you say sum, before you say integer sum equals to 0, and then character letter equals to, let's say, K, and then float money equals to 12.15, something like that. So the thing is, right here, you initialize the value inside the editor itself. But if you want to use Scanf, you can do that as well to initialize the value. Example, let's say printf, let's say this one. So this is asking the user to enter the value for sum. So you Scanf and then ampersand sum. You need to have this ampersand, the symbol ampersand right here. This is a typo, it should be something like this. So this one, symbol ampersand and symbol ampersand. Okay, so the control string right here is your specifier, like this, D or F, something like that, which control the string. And then the next one is going to be enter the letter and so on. Okay, you can also do something like this into one line. You can say, let me give you another example. Okay, let's see this one. Float HW. So this is my declare first. I declare my variables, and then enter your height and weight. So height first, and then weight the second entries. You can do that as well, because you can say key in your value and then press enter, and then it will go to the next input, which is the weight. Okay, so you can do this into one line. All right, now let's see this example. Type in a number, so declaration, number 1 as integer, declare number 2 as a float. Same thing, I can also simplify into one line. I can say printf type in number 1 and number 2, that, and then I can say scanf. My control string will be number 1. I'm just number 1 and no, ada error STL. It should be specified. Okay, my number 1 is integer, so that is D. My number 2 is a float, and then N1, ampersand, N2. Okay. The difference between Scanf and the Printf is you don't have to put the spaces in between. Dia tak perlu ada space kat sini, tak ada masalah. Because you can press enter after that, the second number. Because that is just how you input. Unless you want to see the output, then you need to specify the space. All right, now let's see this one. The printf, the number you typed was number 1. So it will display number 1 as whatever your number is. And look at the second one, the second string right here. It says percentage 5.2f. What does it mean by this? So this one, 5.2f. So this is for float still because we have f right here, 5 right here, 5 space. And then 0.2 is 2 decimal numbers. So it will have like a space of like spacing, like you press the space bar 5 times, and then let's say if I entered 1.5, it will display 1.50. 2 decimal digits. Same thing right here. You can see that 0.2f is going to display just 2 decimal digits. All right, now let's see some errors. Let me know. I don't have my watch right here. What are the errors of this one? Apa dia kesalahan dia kat sini? Can you recognize?
The value is not enough.
Yes, so the specifier, say you have 1, 2, 3, but the entered argument is 1 and 2 only, like I have said just now. And this one also, 1 and 2, you have the specifier for 2 integers, but in your argument, you say it is 3. So you need to add another specifier for integers. Okay, now let's see this one. What's the problem? Float x, but this one is, it's still going to be executed, but it will be a warning. It is still an error. So this is like a logic error. Logic error means that you want something, but something else come out. Benda yang kita nak lain dari apa yang kita dapat. Itu tak logik. It means that it's a logic error. Okay, and same thing. This one, same thing. Scanf. What's the problem with this statement right here?
Got to put n.
Yeah, ampersand.
N%.
Yes, ampersand. All right, I think the rest are almost the same. Okay. Okay, the summation for today's lecture is number 1. For C programming always require the main function. You need to have your main function, otherwise it won't work. And the function will be executed in this curly braces. What does it mean by that? This is, you have integer main. This is your main function, and everything inside this curly braces will be executed. Okay, and then every statement must end with this semicolon. And remember that define and include doesn't end. You cannot do this one. Only the statement or expression, but not the define and the include. And also the function. Remember this one. The function doesn't end as well. You don't put right here at the end of the function right here, you don't put that. And remember also every variables must declare their data type. Okay, now let's do some exercise. Okay, let's see, discard that one. Saya dah okay, now let's do some exercise on this one. Is it true or false? Just give me something. I think we've done this one. Okay, now let's look at C. Let's look at this C values. The statement printf is correct. The statement printf f12345 is right, is true. Is it true or false?
True.
Yes, true. It's not a problem because even though we put, usually we put what? We put 123.45 is a float. 123.5 is a float. So it's not a problem. Nothing wrong about this. Okay, I think this is easy. Okay. Let's see number F, the format specification. 5.3 or %.2f. This is for the float data type. Is it right? Is it true or false? Jangan takut menyatakan kesalahan. Don't be afraid to point out the error. If you think it is error, just say it. Okay, true or false? Nobody? Are you guys afraid of making an error?
False.
Yes, false. It's easy. Why? Because this is not the right syntax. That is not the right way to format specification. Remember, if you're for float type, you can have specifier and then f, the small f. And if you want to have some fancy specifier, you can say this is 5f. So it means that you have 5 space in between the sentence and also the value. Or you can also say 0.2f if you want to specify the number of decimal. That's it. Other than that, it's wrong. Other than that, are false. Okay, now let's see number G. I think we can 5 minutes and then we can stop. Okay, number G. Integer 1. So 3 integers, create 3 integers, integer 1, 2, and sum. Is this the right way?
Wrong.
Why wrong?
Supposed to int, integer 1, integer 2, sum.
INT. So without this one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that is one answer. One answer. Remember that C programming has many answers. And because why? Because you can modify how you see things. Okay, now you can also do something like this. You can erase this one. Okay. Also, you can change this. You can also change, instead of a comma, you can put the semicolon in between. So this is semicolon, semicolon. That is also okay. Yeah, I think the rest is okay. It's not a problem. Okay. All right. Any question? So we can stop at this point. Any question before we truly stop? Any question?
So far.